Welcome to First Parish in Needham, Unitarian Universalist. We are proud to be certified as a welcoming congregation for our inclusivity of people of all sexual orientations and gender identities and expressions, as a green sanctuary for our commitment to our planet Earth and to address the climate crisis, and as a Level 2 sanctuary supporting congregation for our work in immigration reform and anti-deportation efforts. You can learn more about all that's happening at First Parish by going to our website, uuneedham.org, or following us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. I am Roberta Altamari, the Interim Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration here at First Parish, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am here today with our ministerial intern, Sally Fritchie, and our musicians, Irina Georgieva and Kate Loftus-Camp. Thank you to all of our congregants who helped us prepare for today, including the Keller-Scholl family who gave our flowers in memory of Grandma Mimi Keller. As most of you already know, First Parish is honoring the recommendation of our town and our national denomination to protect our citizens from the spread of the COVID-19 virus by not gathering in person. For the next several Sundays, we will be right here offering our Sunday service via live stream. Today, we will focus our time on honoring the very real fear and anxiety present in the community, as well as recognizing the strength and resilience of our connections with one another. We know this way of doing worship is new and different and may be difficult to navigate. Whether you join us in your pajamas from your comfy couch or with coffee at your desk, or another way, we are glad you made it here today. Welcome, 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 and good morning.
We light our chalice this morning, and UU congregations all over the world light their chalices as a symbol of our shared commitments and our vision of a world deeply interconnected. Today we light this flame with words adapted from UU minister Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together across great distance. You are seen, you are heard, you are loved. And we light this chalice, the beacon of this community, holding us all together, here, now, and in the days to come. Come, let us be together.
Our opening hymn is a familiar one from modern singer-songwriter Carolyn McDade, part prayer and part invitation. Feel free to join in at home. It's number 123 in our gray hymnal, Spirit of Life, or you can find it in the lyrics in the order of service emailed out through bell notes yesterday.
Spirit of life, come unto me.
As we do every Sunday, I invite you to join in saying the words of this congregation's covenant, the ideals we strive toward, the promises we make to one another about what kind of community we want to be. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world. Even though we cannot gather in the way we are used to, we can still live into the promise of that covenant.
In 1962, Fred Rogers debuted his television show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, as a way for children to learn and connect with a warm and loving adult presence. The show aired through August of 2001. Wow, that's almost 40 years. Even though he spoke to us through a screen, Mr. Rogers' gentle messages of unconditional support and loving connection had a huge impact on countless children and adults. He brought kindness and compassion to so many homes. And not only that, he was an activist and an advocate for children and people of many different backgrounds. So today, as we figure out how we're going to connect through a screen during this confusing and scary pandemic, who better to help bring us comfort than Mr. Rogers? I need my little sweater. Oh, and my little shoes. All right, I'm channeling Mr. Rogers with my slip-on sneakers and my sweater. I'm going to bring that loving energy to you this morning as I read some of his quotes. In times of stress, the best thing we can do for each other is to listen with our ears and our hearts, and to be assured that our questions are just as important as our answers. Human relationships are primary in all of living. When the gusty winds blow and shake our lives, if we know that people care about us, we may bend with the wind, but we won't break. When I was very young, most of my childhood heroes wore capes, flew through the air, or picked up buildings with one arm. They were spectacular and got a lot of attention. But as I grew, my heroes changed, so that now I can honestly say that anyone who does anything to help a child is a hero to me. I would add that anyone who does anything to help anyone, any living being, is a hero to me as well. The real issue in life is not how many blessings we have, but what we do with our blessings. Some people have many blessings and hoard them. Some have few and give everything away. Imagine what our real neighborhoods would look like if each of us offered, as a matter of course, just one kind word to another person. There have been so many stories about the lack of courtesy and the impatience of today's world. Sometimes all it takes is one kind word to nourish another person. Think of the ripple effect that can be created when we nourish someone. One kind, empathetic word has a wonderful way of turning into many. When I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news. My mother would say to me, Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. To this day, especially in times of disaster, I remember my mother's words, and I am always comforted by realizing that there are still so many helpers, so many caring people in this world. When I was ordained, it was for a special ministry, that of serving children and families through television. I consider what I do through Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as my ministry. A ministry doesn't have to only be through a church or even through an ordination. And I think we all can minister to others in this world by being compassionate and caring. I hope you will feel good enough about yourselves that you will want to minister to others, and that you will find your own unique way to do that. Amen, and blessed be.
This is the time during our service when we share joys and concerns that are very close to our hearts and lives. This is a chance to share honestly and connect more deeply with your community here at First Parish. In this new format, any joys and sorrows you want to be spoken and have a candle lit for can be emailed to Roberta by Saturday night, and she'll read them aloud and will light candles for you all. If you wish to share in a more private setting, I encourage you to reach out to our Pastoral Care Associate of the Week, who is Gail Lehman, or to reach out to me or Reverend Katie via phone or email during the week.
First, a candle of sorrow for beloved member of this community, Greg Condon, who died in the early hours of this Thursday, March 12th. Our hearts are with his wife, Susan, and the rest of his family. A memorial service will be planned and announced at some point in the future. Becca Malakoff shares, and we light a candle of concern in her honor. My mother is currently hospitalized at Leahy Clinic, recovering from a hip replacement with complications that followed, including a small stroke impacting vision to her left eye. Please hold her in your thoughts and prayers, and she may be watching the live stream from her hospital bed. So if so, hi, Mom. Becca loves you. Kevin Grealish shares, please light a candle of concern for my mother, Barbara, Renke, who is recovering from colon cancer surgery at South Shore Hospital. We light a candle of concern for all of us that struggle with feeling too alone and or isolated, or who struggle with the timing of this pandemic feeling extra difficult, like those of us who are not allowed to visit an ailing family member or friend, which makes it extra scary for them and us. Thank goodness for cell phones and video calling and other creative ways of staying connected, but we honor it just isn't the same. I light a candle for all of us that are having more time with our loved ones with school cancellations. May the crowded homes fill us with more love and joy than stress. We light one final candle for the joys and sorrows that couldn't be spoken today. Do not forget that you are a beloved member of this community, and we will be here for you with love and compassion through it all.
I'll now invite us all into a moment of centering ourselves, closing our eyes, taking our hands off the keyboard, and remembering how it feels to be here in the sanctuary. Remembering how our body rests on the pew and the floor below us, hearing the breath of our neighbor the rustle of jackets and pant legs, the sniffles and throat clearing. We will be here together again one day. And for now, we will cross that distance with words, with care, and with love. So take a deep breath. The same oxygen, the same breeze that touches us all. Let us try to quiet our minds and take a moment to ask for what we most need. May we take care of ourselves and our neighbors, our hearts open to our most deeply felt connections, even as we isolate and distance ourselves. All of my prayers and exhortations these days seem to take the same threefold form. 1, may we all take this threat seriously. 2, may we not succumb to panic. And most of all, 3, may we stay connected through this. May we remember our humanity and our best selves. May we remember that there is joy in the world, new flowers and warm rain, sunshine and long-distance phone calls. One day, perhaps sooner than we think, there will be dandelion seeds floating across our lawns again. One day, there will be crowded potluck tables and fearless hugs. In the meantime, as my fellow UU minister, Reverend Lee Paxula, writes, "Blessed are the elderly and the immunosuppressed. Blessed are the fearful, the anxious, and irritable. Blessed are the ones who use humor to get by, the ones who fear for their life. Blessed are the ones who are sick of it all the flawed logic, the security theater. Blessed are the healthcare workers, the administrators catching heat for every decision, the messengers with no power over the message. Blessed are the sad and the lonely. Blessed are the healthy and the sick, the well and the unwell. Blessed are all of us just trying to do our best. Blessed are those who stay kind and clear, who keep our eyes open to each other. Blessed is our neighbor. Blessed are we all. Blessed are we all. Blessed are we all. Amen. If you wish, please join us from home in our meditative response. I know this rose will open. If you have a hymnal at home, it's number 396, or you can find the words in your emailed order of service. It's a very simple chant repeated to calm anxiety, and particularly appropriate for this spring season when we know the opening of flowers is one certainty we can count on.
I know this rose will
Our congregation has been supported by the volunteer time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is a time in our service when we ask for all of you, the modern stewards of this church, to give generously out of the blessings you've received in your life. For the month of March, our congregation will be splitting our collection 50-50 with the Grow Clinic at Boston Medical Center, a program that serves local children diagnosed with failure to thrive. First Parish is in our second decade of partnership with the Grow Clinic, raising funds and often organizing the young people among us to assist with direct donations of non-perishable goods for their food pantry. In these vulnerable times, their needs are felt even more acutely. To donate to the offering and support First Parish and the Grow Clinic, you can use our brand new Text to Give program. On your smartphone, put in the phone number 73256 and text that number the word Needham, all one word with the U's and N capitalized, and the word plate, and the $ with the amount you'd like to give, all in one message. If you're putting in a donation for your annual pledge for 2019 to 2020, please text that same phone number, 73256, with Needham, pledge 20, as one word with the numerals for 20, and the $, and the amount you'd like to give towards your pledge. And if you'd prefer to mail First Parish a check, please make a check out to First Parish in Needham and put March 15th Grow Clinic collection in the memo line, and then mail your check to 23 Dedham Avenue, Needham, Massachusetts, 02492. Thank you all for everything you choose to give to First Parish and share with the Grow Clinic. Please take this moment to give whatever is generous for you, in whatever way you can, and it will be gratefully received.
Bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love today. Bring an offering, tell the world love is the way. Bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love today. In this quiet hour of worship, bring a gift of love. Bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love today. Bring an offering, tell the world love is the way. Bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love, bring a gift of love today. In this quiet hour of worship, bring a gift of love.
Today was supposed to be Reverend Katie's Sunday off for the month of March. She chose it back when we thought it would be a quiet weekend without much going on, and we on staff insisted that she honor that as she and Cole continued to prepare for the arrival of their daughter. Reverend Katie, in turn, insisted on at least sending her own message for today's worship service. So here are Reverend Katie's words for us this morning. She writes, "I am so very grateful to all of you who have tuned in this morning. I'm holding all of you in my heart and prayers as we navigate this incredibly difficult and frightening time, living through a pandemic, physically separated from our beloved community for the safety of our beloved community. This is brave and good work for us to stay physically separated from each other at this time. It is a gift to those with the most vulnerable health among us, and a gift to all first responders who hope and pray our hospitals will not become overwhelmed with patients. Some of you may remember that when I was a ministerial intern, I served at the Arlington Street Church in downtown Boston. Near the end of my first year there, a great tragedy befell our Back Bay neighborhood with heartbreak and fear rippling out around the world, the Boston Marathon bombings, which went off mere blocks from our church building. An excerpt from 20th century Irish poet William Butler Yeats' The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. That Marathon Monday, I was afraid. I remember feeling like indeed things were falling apart. The center could not hold. The blood-dimmed tide was loosed. In fact, I was so afraid and stressed that I nearly lived at Arlington Street Church the week after the bombings, responding to pastoral requests and media requests, as though by overworking, I alone could hold together the center that felt lost. I skipped meals and ignored supportive phone calls. By the end of that week, I had literally given myself an esophageal ulcer from stress and lack of self-care. Looking back at that week, my overwork and foolhardy attempt at control were not healthy responses to the crisis. I fell for a Yeats mentality that the center cannot hold. And I was very wrong about the center, because the center was not within me. It was not within my control. The center was the community, the church community, the Back Bay community, the greater Boston and global community. That center had been holding all along. More than 1,000 people gathered at Arlington Street Church the day after the marathon, in vigil, in grief, and in hope. Strangers left prayers and tokens of peace and memory at the Copley Square barricades and at our church fence. And my friends and family, locally and out of state, kept in touch with me, even though I was making it difficult for them with my overworking. The real center of it all, the center of love and interconnection, was holding me. In this present time of potential fear, panic, and disconnection, I would recommend that you learn from my mistakes after the marathon bombing. Do not neglect yourself and your self-care. Do not disengage from your friends and family. Do not give into a Yeats mentality. Do not give yourself an ulcer from the stress. Instead, as we all stay home more than we might like, I implore you to remember your interdependent communities, and I implore you to practice self-care and self-awareness. Enough awareness to know when you are becoming overstressed and practicing unskillful, anxious habits, like hoarding supplies or keeping the news on and refreshed all day long, and enough self-care to calm yourself again. Take time to make new positive routines for yourself and your family. Take time to move your body and be outside, feeling the sun or rain on your skin and touching the earth with mindfulness and gratitude. Take time to call and text your family and friends. Take time to engage with spiritual, emotional, and physical habits that will boost your spirits and fill up your cup. Above all, take time to give yourself a break from the crisis through games, books, music, hobbies, even some meaningless television. Let's take a breath together as we hear an excerpt of the poem, Remember, by Muskogee Creek songwriter and U.S. Poet Laureate, Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon, know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn, that is the strongest point in time. Remember sundown and the giving away to night. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth, we are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance languages that life is. Remember. Finally, Reverend Katie writes, remember all is in motion, and we are all interconnected with all of the earth, all of humanity, all of the universe, even when we can't draw together physically. Again, you are all in my heart, and I hope you will stay in touch. Be well, blessed be, and amen. Here end Reverend Katie's words for us this morning. These next words are my own. So many of us are struggling to find the balance between wise caution and unhelpful panic. Reverend Katie's words remind us of how to keep calm, how to remember our bodies, how to hold the center. But not everyone will react the same way to this period of change and anxiety, and we know that. Some will panic and disappear into overwork and obsessive preparation, but others will disengage, dismiss the grim and ever-escalating predictions of doom, and will want to go on with life as usual. My 71-year-old father-in-law is still going to the gym. My parents are still traveling halfway across the country for spring break. And I love them so much. I love their tenacity and strength and their commitment to the lives and communities they've built. but I wish they would stay put, stay still, stay home. Please know this. When we cancel church, when we ask you to stay home, it's not because we think you are fragile or weak or too old. It's because we don't want to lose anyone in this beloved community. No matter if you feel all these cancellations are necessary or not, there's a natural grief and resentment about losing so much. There are weddings and funerals being canceled, brand new grandbabies being met over FaceTime instead of in person, once-in-a-lifetime trips being called off, opening nights and artist debuts quietly disappearing into indefinite postponement. It's strange and sad to see this empty sanctuary, and I won't pretend otherwise. For many of us, this weekly gathering is the only chance we get to see our friends, to exchange hugs and handshakes and warm eye contact. I will miss you dearly during these next weeks. And if you feel healthy and young and invincible, that's amazing. Truly, I'm so glad that you are feeling hale and hearty. But all this social distancing is about more than you, about more than any one of us and our individual well-being. This virus has made our interconnectedness so very visible, and we owe it to those more vulnerable to take this seriously, because the risks we take are not our own. Many who contract this virus will recover without needing extraordinary medical intervention, but many will need an extended hospital stay to recover, and there are only so many hospital beds. If data is what will convince you, you can find data online, but changing our behavior usually comes down to something beyond data, so I'm making an appeal from my heart. When we stay home, when all of us who can stay home, elders and kids alike, workers and churchgoers and students, when we cancel our travel and greet our neighbors from 6 feet away as we pass on the sidewalk, we are participating in a vast, unprecedented communal act of love. We are doing the best thing we know for each other, to slow the spread of something that threatens the people we care about. People who are relying on a global network of strangers to hold them in safety. Every incremental slowing of this pandemic lessens the spike of pressure placed on our healthcare system. Every day of distance will save lives. This is what we know. This is why we are being asked to disrupt our lives so profoundly. Maybe you are still skeptical of these predictions. There's a lot of misinformation and unhelpful response from our news media and our elected officials. Your suspicion makes perfect sense. And yet, please hear me when I say I do not want to lose any of us. If we believe in the scientific method, if we can trust the voices of informed experts, then we can know that this is not a phantom threat, and we can do what is in our power to do. So I'm here today to hold up all the frustration and inconvenience and boredom and lost connections, the fear about missing paychecks and uncertain futures. That's all real. It's okay to be resentful or skeptical or frustrated. And for so long, we at First Parish have dedicated ourselves to closeness, to showing up, reaching out, to living our beliefs through action and care for our world. So it's hard. It's so hard to reteach ourselves that right now, love looks like inaction. Right now, love looks like an empty sanctuary. Love looks like stopping, staying put, holding the space between us. There will come another season after this one. Things might eventually, and if we are careful, be normal again, whatever that means. But these aren't normal days, and this is not the time to pretend that they are. So we will stay put, we will slow down, we will keep our distance because we owe it to each other. And through it all, we will continue to be the beloved community we've always been. Through it all, we will look for the helpers. We will carry each other's joys and sorrows. We will love one another. And God willing, we will all be here for each other when this is over. May it be so, and amen.
One of the challenges of being a Unitarian Universalist, particularly of the atheist, agnostic, humanist variety, is not believing in a parental God who is taking care of us when we are sick or have lost a loved one. Seeing how comforted my Catholic friends and family are by prayer and knowing that their Father in heaven is there looking out for them during life's most challenging times has made me wonder, what do I have as a Unitarian Universalist? I happened on Facebook to see a memory from almost 5 years ago. It was me wearing a vintage UMass Amherst sweatshirt a friend had given me in honor of my older daughter's decision to go to school there. Seeing the picture of my long hair reminded me that it was taken right before my battle with breast cancer. Months of chemotherapy followed by surgery, followed by 6 weeks of daily radiation treatments, all while starting a new job and continuing to parent my 2 teenage daughters while launching the older one off to college. And yet, having cancer also became the most transformative chapter of my life. It gave me the answer to my existential UU question. What we have is community. We have each other, and it really does make a difference. People we know and people who we care about, who we haven't even met. Learning to accept the love and kindness of others has changed me. Oh, and believe me, I know you all know, especially in the middle of this pandemic, life isn't always easy. During moments of great vulnerability, we have to remember that it's okay to struggle and to cry and to not feel okay. Of course, it's not easy. Frankly, it can be downright awful. We can't change our suffering and our fear and our hurt. But we can also recognize that others are also struggling to cope with similar or worse hardships. and helping one another can be the best medicine for ourselves. Living through my aforementioned breast cancer treatment taught me that what really matters is just simply being there for someone. Watching my parents struggle not being able to fix my cancer for me, and discovering how helping me with simple tasks really mattered and made a difference. Having people to hold my hand and hug me and make me laugh, or the proverbial version of holding my hand. Distracting me with a fun activity, listening as I complained, getting a favorite drink or dessert for me. Sometimes it can be the small, easy stuff that matters most. Being present with your love for someone is the best gift of all. As our neighborhoods struggle with this pandemic, let us choose love. Like Mr. Rogers said, when the gusty winds blow and shakes our lives, if we know that people care about us, we may bend with the wind, but we won't break. May each of us be one of those caring helpers that Mr. Rogers' mom would tell him to look for when things were scary. As he later said, I think we all can minister to others in this world by being compassionate and caring. I hope you will feel good enough about yourselves that you will want to minister to others, and that you will find your unique ways to do that. Rabbi Yosef Kanevsky challenges us to consider highlighting the opposite of social distancing. He writes, every hand that we don't shake must become a phone call that we place. Every embrace that we avoid must become a verbal expression of warmth and concern. Every inch and every foot that we physically place between ourselves and another must become a thought as to how we might be of help to that other. In the coming days and weeks and months, may we unfortunately find ourselves and the people we care about suffering from fear and anxiety and isolation and possible illness. But may we also remember to do our best to support each other through our fear and shock and vulnerability that may come with these changes to our lives, so that each of us can do our best to practice unconditional loving support for ourselves and one another. During this time when we can't physically wrap our arms around one another, let us find ways to be the loving embrace of this community for one another. Amen, and blessed be.
Our closing hymn, There Is More Love Somewhere, is a song pointing to a hopeful future. If you have a hymnal at home, it's number 95. But even if you don't have a hymnal, you can follow along with this simple melody. There is more love somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There
As we close our worship today, know that we are still connected, still a community, despite our physical distance. In the coming days, be sure to open and read any emails from First Parish and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter for updates. Given our new reality and our new needs, church won't be limited just to Sunday mornings. You can expect to hear about opportunities to connect with your fellow First Parishioners, meeting with small groups over Zoom or Skype, helping our kids stay busy, and helping our most vulnerable members get groceries and medicine. If you fall ill or need any kind of support, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Reverend Katie, or our pastoral care team via phone or email. As we extinguish our chalice, please join in saying these words from Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Let this poem, written by Jewish Unitarian Universalist minister Lynn Unger just last week, serve as our benediction. She writes, "What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling, give up just for now on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you can commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has become clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.
Some, yeah, some things they just work in any context.
Yeah, when, so you remember